you doing?
Living the dream, man.
Yeah.
So first of all, introduce us to the family. You have to introduce us to the family. They're all gathered. So
We've got our newest addition, Blanche Geraldine. She's very tired, which is great. She just weighed in yesterday at 6.5 pounds, so she's a whopper. Here we have Odessa Louise Chickleshit Smith, also known by her Uncle Eddie as Bathsheba. And over here, on my other shoulder,
there's my boy.
Marcus.
Oh, Alfonso is so disinterested. He is.
Yeah.
He's just not having it.
It's
He's tired, and he is the gentleman of the group.
Yeah.
Odessa is
into it, dude.
She is.
The camera hall.
Yeah. She'll probably start crying at some point.
She is not letting this opportunity go by.
No.
Look, I know you're talking about me. I know you're talking.
She is a diva.
She hears my laugh, is what she hears my voice. So,
she does and loves it.
How you guys doing? How you holding in during this insane time?
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
In multiple respects, it's definitely a difficult time.
Yeah. Both of you guys are working from home, though. You're both still working, right?
We are both working remote. Yeah.
Yeah, you're both working remote during the day. So let's talk about that. What do you, Stacia, what do you do?
Oh.
For the people who don't know you.
I work for the governor's office of general counsel. The general counsel is the lead counsel to the governor.
Mm-hmm.
We have a main office of 28 employees that I help manage. And Commonwealth-wide, we have 500 attorneys and some almost 300 support staff.
Wow.
So it's a pretty big shop. Yeah.
Wow.
And a very, very large percentage of them are teleworking.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And you just do keep normal hours then online, like 9 to 5?
At least.
At least.
Yeah.
Oh.
Most of the time it goes into the early evening. I'm sometimes answering emails at night. Sometimes I had a small thing today that I had to handle for a little while.
Oh, no. Okay.
So it's a stressful time.
And Nick, what do you do besides live off station?
Yeah. But I mean, I wrangle the pugs, and that's that's it. I watch TV. No, I work from home as well for an insurance carrier, and I basically do general liability claims, and really exciting stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting stuff. But we're both struggling with just, I guess, since we work from home, there's not really an escape from it at the moment. So we're always, like, we're having a hard time getting our brains to shut off right now in the evenings or on the weekends. So I don't know. I'm ready for stuff to get back to normal, man.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
I know. But you guys at least can go out. Like, you have a big backyard. You just moved into your new house, right? Which is beautiful. I was out there.
Yeah.
So when did you move into the new home? When did you move into?
February of last year. So we've been here just a little over a year. We try to break up our day a little bit. If the weather's nice, we go for walks around. We have a nice neighborhood loop.
I was gonna say, yeah, you have a neighborhood loop. Yeah.
Yeah. This week hasn't been the nicest as far as weather. It's been a little colder than I like.
Yeah.
We also have a pretty decent sized fenced-in yard, and we let the dogs run out in the yard, and we go out. I go out in my bathrobe and slippers sometimes, and so does Nikki. We must be quite a sight to see.
I don't care, man. I don't care.
The challenge of late, our pups are really into what we like to call yard caviar.
Yes.
The bunnies come into our
Oh my
fence
gosh.
and they leave like piles of little turds, and our dogs think it's the most delectable, amazing thing.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It's gross.
So you'll see us running in our slippers and our robes going, no, do not eat the turds. They make you sick. Get away from the yard caviar.
Oh my God. So let's talk about your theatrical lives now.
Sure.
Because you both were into theater before you came together and become the power couple. Of Epac. So Stacia, when did you first start? Like,
my first Epac show was back.
No, pre-Epac, like the young Stacia, the one actress. Yeah.
Do like the times where I sang in my windowsill of my house, maybe far away from Annie while grasping the window? Does that count?
Yeah, kinda.
He still does that too.
Yeah, I do. My parents were so exhausted of hearing the Annie soundtrack that my grandfather gave me. Sound of Music, West Side Story, Camelot, lots of records to listen to. So that definitely was the big start of it. But I didn't do theater until I was in high school. And then I started doing some musicals, and by the time I was a junior in high school going into my senior year, I did Plain and Fancy, the musical, the Amish musical.
I know somebody, can't believe I didn't know that. Now I know somebody who actually did Plain and Fancy.
I did. I was Hilda Miller. I did it for a whole summer. I was actually paid to do it. And I thought by the end of the summer, from parting my hair and twisting it so tight and wearing it under one of those little bonnets, I thought maybe part of my hair was starting to go bald. But that was like my first professional outside of high school theater experience. I didn't get to do a whole lot of theater in college. I was a music education major. I worked a lot, did a lot of bartending, cocktail waitressing, waiting tables through college when I went to Temple. And it wasn't until I moved back to the Berks County area that I started to do community theater. And my first show that I did was Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, yeah, with Alpha?
It was.
Yeah. Yes. And when did you get to Epac? Was it Follies right before the renovation?
It was.
Yeah.
It was before the renovation.
And you were young Heidi?
I was young Heidi.
Dressed as little Go Peep.
Yeah. Dressed as a milkmaid. Again with braids, but not quite as tight with the balding. So that was good. I think the next thing I did after that was I did Sweeney Todd as Joanna. And
you were in the first Sweeney, the second
Sweeney.
The
second Todd. Sweeney.
Yeah.
The second Sweeney with the cube. And the 5 poodles glued to my hair. Glued as my hair. Yes. I've been I consider myself fortunate to do Sweeney Todd twice at Epac, because I did it at that time, and then I did it, was that 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago, because it was Ragtime last year, and the year before was Sweeney. So yeah, and where the costumes got better reviews than the cast.
I loved my dress as the beggar woman was made of trash bags.
I know.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. Kate made those costumes on that show were like off the charts. Great, brilliant. And she made you a dress out of trash bags. Yeah. And it looked like, it was so funny because, you're supposed to be this poor beggar woman, but she did this trash bag dress that looked like you were going to some like avant-garde like fetish ball. It was
And like every night to make it.
Your babies.
Oh, my babies.
Your cart of babies. I love your cart of babies.
Yeah. The one time I'm like, my cart of babies doesn't look freaky enough. So I took a couple babies out to the trash bin, and I struck their faces against it sounds horrible.
These were dolls.
Against the dumpster. And it like teeth broke away and an eyeball was popping out. And then when I put it in my cart,
you burned some of them too.
I did, yes. They were rough. They were rough and amazing looking babies. I was very, very proud.
People don't think we're insane. As a beggar woman, you know, she's searching for her long lost daughter. That's, you know, Sweeney, you know, the plot points and the reveal at the end. So I said, let's give her a shopping cart. Because like a homeless person has their shopping cart collected. Why don't we give her a cart full of baby dolls that she collects all over the city, takes out of the trash? So that became like a really cool thing. And then Keith was our prop person, put together this like amazing prop for you that you would wheel around, which was like filled with broken baby dolls. It was so cool. That was a great production. It was a great. It was.
There wasn't as much pressure, I think, on me in that particular role to, you know, carry the show. So I kind of got to let go a little bit and enjoy it. And I would hide from Bobby and Sean underneath the stage. They had to do a really quick cross, and I would like jump out of pieces of furniture and grab their legs and do all kinds of things. And Bobby was like, "You brat."
Yeah, and then we did Ragtime last year, which was another great show.
Yes.
And what else? And you did Dolly. We're forgetting some shows. Hello, Dolly.
Hello, Dolly. I did Sunday in the Park with George. Company, Rent.
Fun Home.
Fun Home.
How can we forget Fun Home? Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Nikki and I were, and Guys and Dolls. Trying to think of like the shows that Nikki and I were both in, but also like the ones where we got to play either, you know, love interests or husband and wife. And Fun Home was definitely to be husband and wife and play that particular real life husband and wife. That was really a tremendous experience.
Yeah, that was a good. There's so many, you know, it's like, what's your favorite show? You think of all these shows and you forget because there's so many of them, but they were all quite wonderful in their own way. Fun Home was really a wonderful experience too.
Yeah,
really
that was a small, close-knit cast. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And Nick, how about you? When did you first start getting into the theater?
It would have been high school, and I was in like band and marching band as a drummer, you know, but I was kind of terrified to audition to be into the musicals and whatnot. And there was a friend that came up to me in high school, and he's like, look, you know, you don't even have to audition. We just need guys for Carousel right now. If you're a guy, you're in.
Story of theater, right? The story of local theater. If you're a guy, you're in. Yeah.
I was like, cool. So I went, and I was in the ensemble of Carousel at Donegal High School, and just kind of got the bug from that experience. And next year did 2 shows. We did Godspell, Anything Goes, and then I went to community college for 2 years, and my high school director, Jim Johnson, said, hey, why don't you go to Epac? Like, if you want to stay involved in theater and get a good experience, you go to Epac, check it out. And I auditioned for 1776. Did not get it, but got a call to be a dancer in Sweet Charity.
There's a comedy.
I know. And I'll be in the ensemble for that. And that was my first show at Epac. And
then Superstar.
Superstar. Man of No Importance was in there.
What?
Man of No Importance.
Man of No Importance, yeah.
Wonderful Town. Gypsy. I played Rolf in The Sound of Music when I was like 21, and we dyed my hair. It was like, it came out to be like this orange color, and I remember one time my college professor at Millersville was like, I think she was like handing out assignments like on a Monday, and she looked at me and she's like, dude, like, did you like get drunk and lose a bet over the weekend, or what happened to you? Like it was not a great look, but
no. That
trying to think what else though.
We did
the producers then, man.
of course, the producers.
2009.
Your big claim to fame.
That's it, man.
That pushed you into leading man territory.
Oh my gosh. Just a crazy experience, man. What a crazy time.
You were in Sweet Charity as ensemble, and I look at it now and it's like, oh my God, it's funny now to look at it. And then Man of More Importance, we didn't talk, and Superstar, we kind of laughed a little. We look at each other and laugh. Yeah. Because you would do stuff to crack me up.
I tried to crack you and Sean up just because I know. What a time. I gave myself the name of Doubting Thomas, the Apostle, even though there's no role in the show for that. So I would occasionally come on stage and kind of be like, I don't know, like I'm doubting you, just to make myself laugh. But you know,
when you think of that show, I think about that show. I was just talking to Sean about it. Like Jordan Weinholz was like a little apostle too.
I know.
And Xander Gone. Xander Gone was this teeny little apostle dude.
Hedwig was an apostle.
Hedwig was an apostle, and Banjo and Hedwig were
just crazy.
Yeah, that was a good show though. Actually, Riley just texted me a couple of days ago that he was watching it, you know, and it was beautiful. It was a really good show. It was beautifully lit. Wayne Bendelson from Albright did a beautiful job with it, and it was a really good show. But then we did produce, and Man Who Came to Dinner. It was like you were just a kid hanging out, and it was your character in the show was kind of who you were.
Yeah, totally.
You just didn't say anything. You just like swept the stage.
Yeah, I think I was was I the stage manager, or was I just? No, I was just like a walk-on.
Yeah, you were the stage. You were in the show. You weren't a stage manager. You were like the assistant stage manager or the kid who just cleaned up.
Yeah.
And
I had like 2 lines. Just, just glad to be there.
Man of
No Importance. Yeah.
Man of No Importance, which was a weird show. Yeah, God. And then you were told, and then we did Man, and then you were told, and then when we did Producers, we became tight. And that process of that show, we became tight doing that show.
Yeah.
Well, you had to doing that show every night. I think the two actors who do those roles, Yali Stockenblum, they worked together so much. You met during company. Because you were the drummer. Yeah.
We actually met during that first production of Sweeney Todd. Was the first time when it was like super young Nick. Because Nick was dating one of the cast members in Sweeney. Mm-hmm. And we met, and I was like, what's that?
You weren't in the production though, Nick, were you?
Nikki was not.
I was in rehearsals for Man of No Importance, and
you were dating Nikki at the time. Was it Nikki?
I was not. I was dating Wendy.
Oh, okay.
And I was straight.
Nick was a player, as they say now.
Yeah, I really was.
You know the expression, still waters run deep, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I went to see the show opening night of Sweeney Todd, and I remember meeting Stacia for the first time. It was over at the Legion, like in the hall, like as you walk in, we kind of like crossed, and it was kind of like, hey, nice to meet you. And we still kind of remember it. It was so quick. And then we probably hadn't talked to each other for what, 8 years or so? I mean, just weird.
And then
it came together.
Nikki was drumming during company, and when I would come off stage at the end of the show, I'd smack him across the back of the head and just keep walking.
Yeah.
And
it was very affectionate.
He was obsessed. I don't know if you even know this, but he would talk about you all the time during company. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what it was? It was that
It was the beret.
It's always the beret.
The costumes in that show were off. I was like, what? You were dressed as like a 1940s spy. I don't know why I costumed you like that. You had a trench coat and a beret.
But it was purple and it was lovely. It was lovely.
But Nikki was smitten. Nikki was smitten during company. Smitten.
Yeah.
And the next year we were supposed to do Rent together. And I was supposed to assistant direct it with you. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
And we were going through like lists of people, like who to call to come out. And I was like, Stacia's got it. She's got it now. She's going to do really good.
You're like, okay, if that's the story you want to tell, I'll go along with it. Yeah. I'm kidding.
He did it. I think Nick was the one that actually called me and asked if I.
Oh yeah, Nick was like my assistant at the top of the show, and then he wound up being in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, but. No, all kidding aside, even though you were called in for that role, it was a battle to the death between you and Christy, the other girl. Remember that? It was like one of those auditions that happens that goes on and on and on for a tiebreaker and just
it was
break.
Yeah.
At the very end. Yeah. And that was a crazy production, but that was really good. That was really good. So and then you got married and you started working together. Now, Stacia, you and I just want to make something very clear, because sometimes people think couples like they have to work together or they don't do work if the other one doesn't work. You guys are not. You just happenstance when you guys work together. It's not like I'm going to do a show of Nixon. It's part of the It's not like that at all. It just happens. And you've done shows apart.
Yeah.
Nick did Cabaret, the Emcee.
Yeah.
And you all were going to do a show that Nick wasn't in Ragtime and he wasn't in Sweeney. And you were going to do a show that is going to be bumped up, hopefully, if we can open Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. So, which we were rehearsals for when we had to close the shop, had to close down shop. So hopefully that will, and we had got through music rehearsals.
Yeah.
We had gone through music rehearsals and we were just about like a day away from starting staging rehearsals, and so long, everybody, closed down.
It's so strange to think back to that week where you and I spoke on the phone, and we knew that they were starting to close down counties and everything like that. So that week I was working full time and then driving from Harrisburg to Ephrata and doing the music rehearsals. And I can remember maybe like Monday or Tuesday of that week, I was driving home from a music rehearsal and I said to Nikki, I'm like, this music is so hard. I'm so frustrated with my own musicianship, and I gotta up my game and I gotta practice more. And I had already been practicing, but I was like, the music to Gentleman's Guide is very, very challenging. It's super chromatic, and I'm singing second soprano.
It's operetta. It really is.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's a little different than anything I had ever done or haven't done for quite some time. And I was really determined that I was gonna practice more and I needed to be better and I wanted it to be perfect, which is kind of always my speed anyway. Mm-hmm. But then to go from that being my main focus that week to then, holy crap, Curious Incident may not open. What happens with Gentleman's Guide? What happens with work? What happened even overnight that week was crazy. if you think back to that, because I think my main concern at the beginning of the week was making sure that my singing was on point by my standards. And then by the end of the week, you know, it didn't take long till businesses are closing and people are getting laid off. And it kind of, it puts things into a strange perspective.
Yeah. That week was very odd because it was almost, now thinking back on that week and how my reaction was, and everybody around the theater and the board and everybody's, how they responded to that week. It was almost like it was coming closer and closer, like things were happening. It was like a tidal wave. A tsunami was coming at us and nobody wanted to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And it was coming in closer and closer and closer. And we all knew it was going to hit. We all knew we were going to have to deal with it. It came to the point that this is going to affect us, but we kind of didn't want to acknowledge it, so we had to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
On that weekend. And with the weekend of a Curious Incident, we just closed shop. And then you guys were closed. We didn't know we canceled music rehearsal. And, you know, we were supposed to have 2 more music rehearsals. And I was here, and then we just said, no, close everything down, because Wolf said, close it all down. So we closed it all down. Yeah. So it was weird.
Yeah.
It was a strange week. It was a very emotional, crazy kind of week. And even when it was happening, you were kind of numb to it because it was like, okay, you know, you kind of not believing this was happening at the same time, you had to react to it.
It feels even thinking back to it, it feels pretty surreal.
Yeah.
And even now, everything feels so strange.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially for, you know, and we're blessed in a lot of ways that we're here, you know. Just talking to Sean, he took his daughter out of New York because it's going to New York is heartbreaking. And that's heartbreaking what's going on there. And so, but we're isolated here, and it's kind of like outside the sun is shining, and, you know, it's quiet. And it's like, so it is this, and we get these images from television, these numbers coming in from television, and yet we're sitting in our homes, our apartments, and the sun is shining, and it's just this whole bizarre reality kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, every day I get emails from the Department of State, and before the press conferences happen, I usually have an idea of where the new number of cases are and all of that, and it's tough.
Yeah, that's real. So I think here, you know, we're isolated, and in Lancaster City is bad, but not as bad as like New York or California. But here in the suburbs, we're kind of like, okay, and we don't realize how really bad it is.
Yeah.
No. So you stay safe, everybody. What are you guys doing to pass the time now that you can't do theater? And well, how do you guys manage? One of the questions I've been asking, especially in community theater like ours, how do you manage doing your jobs and your theater life? Because when you do a show, especially I know Epac was very, and I know I'm very demanding, that it's almost a part-time job. It's like you could put in 20, 25 to 30 hours a week as a show gets more and more into rehearsals. How do you guys balance it? Home life, dog life, work life?
You know what? Like when we do a show together, I mean, as great as that is, and just recently, My Fair Lady, you know, it's great to be together doing that, but at the same time with the dogs, that's something like I stress about big time. Stacia stresses about it. So, you know, we have a dog sitter that comes over next door, Brad. He's been great. But it is hard to just go from work to basically work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in a way, when we're doing shows, like she's going to do Gentleman's Guide, I'm going to do Boys in the Band. If it's just one person going, one person staying back, it's almost like easier to kind of manage that way.
Aren't you playing drums for Gentleman's Guide as well?
That's true. So I mean,
but that's only the run of the show.
Yeah, it gets a little closer to the run, and plus we've got a great dog sitter now here that we're in our new home and in the new neighborhood. A lot of the time,
the baby has never dealt with the dog sitter before.
No, she hasn't. No, the baby is so tired. Look, she can like barely function right now. But she
big. Wait a minute, she's getting big. No,
she doesn't. I think it's just because she's close to the camera. She's long, but we like the big trout. You know, like we're holding her up.
The palm of her hand when you first got her.
But she looks bigger on camera than when you see her in person. She's pretty tiny. She's met a few people. She met my parents and she met my younger sister and her family. But by the time
she met my parents
and Nikki's parents. But then at that point we stopped
he's away.
Visiting.
Alfonso just woke up.
He did. He's like, hey. And then he said, oh, no, I'm good.
No, nothing's going on.
But the balance is tough, though. And the drive for us is an hour, almost an hour, pretty much. So a lot of time in the car, you know.
And we try to do a lot of our homework, maybe even sometimes before we start rehearsals for the show.
Right.
At least I always try to be off book for all of the music. And as much as I can for the scene work, my goal is always, you know, if we're going to do act 1, scene 1, I want to go in memorized for that scene, if possible.
Right.
Thank goodness for the repetition that you've always done. It makes it easier getting off book.
I'm really into the repetition. Some directors are. I'm really into like review.
Yeah.
I like to just wing it and see what happens.
Yes.
Oh, we know that. Yes, we're
all right.
Yeah, we're all
wanted to make sure.
I think it was like 3 years
Not
ago.
for Fun Home. I have to give Nick kudos. Fun Home, he came in knowing his stuff. I think because he was terrible.
Yeah, why do you think that was?
They just like, we should go over your lines. We need to go over your lines.
We were talking about, remember in Hello, Dolly, during like the jury scene? And I know that you and Zach love this story.
That's one of our favorite moments.
But, like,
you're making me look bad.
All the poor ensembles stuck in that jury box, and Nikki can't remember his lines to save his life, and they're like stuck one on top of another. I'm outside the jury box. He's like walking around. Other people are yelling his lines to him.
This wasn't during an actual show.
No, it was during rehearsal.
Right.
It was during rehearsal, but he should have been a little further along. Just a little. And I lost my cool a little bit, and I was like, you're embarrassing. You're embarrassing me.
You're embarrassing
this family. You need to step it up. He was ready next time.
And it was right before It Only Takes a Moment.
It only takes a moment scene. I'll never
she like rips into me, and then I'm like, it only.
That's when like acting as though he was in love with me became a challenge.
I remember that. I remember that very well. That was one of my favorite moments. Zach still at it. I guess it would be hard. I mean, I think about back at the days when I was working, before I was artistic director full time, and I was working in retail outlets and then shows at night. I mean, I guess you get used to it. I was talking to someone and they said, your body you get used to it, you know, but I think about what I used to do and it's like, I don't know if I can do that anymore, you know. But you guys judiciously pick what you can do, you just, you know, as you get older and you have to plan it out.
I mean, like at one point we had said, you know, maybe one show a year is enough. Just considering our jobs and as we've gotten older and we've been married longer, our jobs have gotten a little more demanding too. So So we do, selectively look at things and what we think we can actually handle. Last year was I did Ragtime, and then we both did My Fair Lady, and that was a busier year.
Yeah.
But this year, we were just looking at Gentleman's Guide and then Boys in the Band for Nikki. So we learned how to balance it. It's definitely a challenge, but like, I think back to Ragtime, and Sean and I were sitting backstage one night during the run, and it might have even been before we started the run, and we both like shook our head, and I said, I had such a difficult day at work. I can't wait to like throw myself into this show and forget about the stress and forget about the challenges and escape to get to be this wonderful character. And he said the same thing. Like, I forget what happened that day for him at work, but it was something uncomfortable and not enjoyable and frustrating. And you get to go on stage and be someone else, have another journey, and it's the labor of love. It's worth it.
And also, it's interesting because I just need saying that, because also when something unpleasant happens at work and you bring it home with you, you have all that internal energy, that negative energy that can last for a long time and keep you up. But by going to the theater, your body has to turn that into positive energy, and it kind of exercises that negative energy. It's sort of almost like, it gets you to another place, and it gets rid of all that crap. And because you have to and your body and your mind work, together, and so by having to go through all these different emotions in a show, it overrides whatever you might be carrying around. I mean, does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
So it's almost cathartic to go and to like expel all the BS that's happened during the day and to get into the journey, especially if it's something like Ragtime, which is a beautiful journey. And that was a gorgeous show. So so that makes perfect sense. So it's kind of like a trade-off. It's kind of like worth it,
It is.
So what I'm asking this to everybody. What is your I want you both separately to tell me 2 things you're most proud of in your theatrical life, and 2 things that you're not proud of, in fact, that you're embarrassed about or wish never happened or never want to revisit again. And we'll start with the positive or the negative, whatever you want to start with.
Do you want to go first?
No.
He probably needs me to go first.
Why do you ask that question? No, he's not going to go. Why do you even ask?
So, like, one of the things I think, when we did Rent, Nikki and I had like a side conversation about how we were both nervous, because we come from pretty conservative families, and we were both nervous about our parents coming to see the show. And I had originally told my parents back when I was cast as Maureen, knowing some of the content and knowing some of the things I was going to be doing on stage, that maybe it wasn't a show for them. And then the reviews from the paper started coming in, and my parents were reading them, and but there was an incident that happened, and I'm proud that I did this, I guess, but at the same point at the time, I was nervous about if my father found out. My dad has a favorite Turkey Hill where he used to buy his lottery tickets, where 322 meets 501 in Brickerville. And he was actually fairly well known at this particular Turkey Hill. So we went in the one time, and they knew him as Coach. I think they just called him Coach because my dad was also a basketball coach. And I went in the one time and introduced myself to a cashier because I had to use the bathroom or something like that. And I said, I'm Coach's daughter. And she said, you live in Harrisburg. What are you doing here? Which was eerie because that means my dad was telling people where I lived. But I said, I'm driving to Epac. I'm in their production of Rent. Oh, and she went, Rent's my favorite show. Who are you? And I told her I was going to be Maureen. And the next time my dad went in to pick up his lottery ticket, or tickets, she told him that she met me and was pumped that I was doing her favorite show, Rent. And she's like, you know your daughter's gonna moon the audience. What do you think about that, Coach? I had managed to like not mention that to my own dad. I got a phone call and he's like, are you going to show your backside to the audience? And I like skated again and I was like, well, I mean, I mooned like another character or two on stage, but it's like, it's tastefully done and like not everybody's gonna see it, and you know, totally everybody saw it. I mean, it was a pretty broad moon. And my parents did eventually come to see the show because after they saw the reviews, they talked it over and they asked me, and I said I didn't really want to know where they were going to be seated in the audience. My dad was totally full moon. Yeah. He got full view of both butt cheeks. Like it was something. It was something. And another show, another performance of Rent, when I mooned the audience, there was a female minister in the front row of the center section. And after the moon in La Vie Boheme, she didn't come back for Act 2.
No, I didn't know that, really.
So I felt kind of bad about that. So it's a mix.
Was she a friend of yours?
No.
Oh.
It's someone I didn't even know.
Oh,
but
okay.
I felt a little bad about that. Yeah, whatever. I mean, at the time I did.
What did you think Rent was about? You know, diabetes? I mean, really, come on.
Yeah, she should have read up first.
Yeah, read up. Let the buyer beware. Right, Fonz? Oh, he's back. He's back with us.
Yeah, he's back. No, he's not.
Nope.
No.
Just for a second.
Anyway, my story took a while. I'll let Nikki go.
What else are you proud of? Was that a proud or was that a?
That was a myth.
I couldn't tell if that was a proud or embarrassed one.
That was a myth. That was a myth.
Mixed.
Yeah.
Mixed tape. Okay.
Yeah. I'm most proud, I think, of Fun Home, thinking back to it, and just the amount of work that we all put into it, and that group of people, and just it was really special. It's one of those things that, I don't know that stuff like that comes around that much, and you're just really you feel so fortunate to be a part of that. That was so cool, that was a proud moment. I was really proud of, I think, Cabaret and for me to kind of whip my butt into shape a little bit. I'm not really a small guy, but I worked out and tried to eat right and just put a lot of work into that character and just kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit, and worked hard with you and with Ponce and with Pat about.
You guys weren't married yet. Were you married yet?
We were married then.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That was the same year as Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So.
I did this one production at college of I met a lot of great people during the show, which was fun. It was like a student-run version of Urinetown at Millersville. Oh,
and through Acmo, an Acmo version.
Acmo, and it was a hot mess. And they just needed a guy, and I was a commuter going to Millersville, and I thought, yeah, I'll just do it. I'll meet some people. It'll be fun. We had a great time, but that was a hot mess. What was the other one?
Were you Bobby in that?
No, I was. I don't remember what character I played. Tiny Tom or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so.
No shorter than yesterday, unless I've grown. that's his line. Like something like that. Again, nothing against.
Read my line.
I don't know, man. Oh, I would probably. We did Godspell at Epac, and I wasn't quite ready for that. I don't know. That was just weird, dude. Remember that?
Yes, I forgot that you were in that production.
Yeah.
That was your second time doing it, though, wasn't it?
I did it once in high school, and that was like my first lead, and I had a lot of just attachment to that show. And then we did it at Epac, and it felt kind of rushed and kind of forced to put it together. I don't know. It was just.
He looks cute, though.
No. I don't know. I guess that would be it. I don't know. Gypsy was a long show. Gypsy was.
Yeah. Gypsy was a show that was not to disparage anybody who was a part of it.
No,
the show just does not work no matter how much you try. And
sure.
We had just opened the new theater, and it just didn't work. It wasn't it just did not. That show was not pleasant, and it just did not work. Yeah. And I love the show. I love Gypsy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I want another crack at it to redeem myself from it. But yeah, that production was disappointing. That's one of the things that and God, the reviews were awful. That and Man of No Importance for me. The reviews were assassinated. It was so. Oh my God, I got the worst reviews of my life for that show. I don't think I was that bad, but
no, I really liked that. I love that.
I like that show in general.
The music
with somebody else. I was talking about it with somebody else, and everybody who was in that show has fond memories. And if I think about the show itself and the moments of the show, I do have fond memories of that show, like the scenes themselves. Like Trish was beautiful, and working with Tim, Rick was wonderful, and there were scenes in it. And then Rachel, and I just remember like the end singing to Rachel, "Love Who You Love."
Yeah.
And audience crying around me, like sniffling, all But a show is really half of a show is the audience, right? They can make or break a show, right? And especially then, an opening night was all the critics were at opening night, and the opening night audience just wasn't having it. They just were not into it. And I think it colored all the reviews. A lot of the opening night audience left, and they left, and they just were not into the show. And I think it colored a lot of the reviews, and it was hard to do. It was hard to get back on stage after. And then, but Susan Pena, God bless her heart, came out with this incredible review.
Yeah.
And thank God she did, because it would be hard to get back on stage after what some of the papers said. And then Jim Ruth, God bless his heart, came to see it with Merv closing night, and they were like, "What is everybody talking about? This was a beautiful show." Yeah. So I have mixed feelings about that show. The experience itself was not good, but the show itself, I have good memories of the show itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, sorry.
Go ahead.
Reviews, man.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Like, it's great to get great reviews and get that positive feedback, but one review, like negative review, can just get in your head so much. I mean,
and I think it's hard too, because we typically, at Epac, we open on a Thursday night, and sometimes it's a race to get it to where it's ready and on its feet on a Thursday night. And a lot of times the reviewers are there on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And sometimes the reviews come out on Friday. So you're on this high of like, we made it, and an audience saw the show, and they applauded, and you think it's great. And then you read a review and on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And then you got to go back and do it on a Friday night. Mm-hmm. And if the review wasn't what you were hoping, it can be tough. Like, I can remember one, when we lived in our townhome, Nikki kind of tried to shield me from reading the review of myself. And it was really just one sentence, but I threw myself dramatically on the bed and sobbed for a good amount of time. And then I had to put my big girl panties on and go and do the show on a Friday night in front of an audience, really feeling pretty defeated.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you're, again, this isn't my job. It's my hobby. It's what brings me joy. And when you look at the review and you think, God, someone thinks I suck, which isn't the sentence that it said, but that was my
You overblow
my interpretation. It was tough. So, that's tough.
When your confidence takes a hit like that, it's hard to get that built back up again. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I know, believe me, I've been there. I've been there. It's like some shows it was really hard to get back on stage.
Sure.
But on the other hand, though, when it is our hobby and your guys' hobby and pays my bills and your joy, but people are also paying a lot of money to see it.
Yeah.
You got to balance that. Yeah, and people are paying to see you. They're paying good, hard-earned money.
Sure.
And a lot of money for some people. You're getting, even in community theater and low tickets, if two people come to the theater and a night out and they go to even not even an expensive dinner, if they go to the Hilltop for burgers and fries, you're looking at over $100 for the
easy. Yeah,
it's
definitely.
A lot of money, and people are, and I always have to instill that into the cast, like, people are going to be pay. You owe them. If you're going to do this, you have to realize people are putting out hard-earned money to watch you, so you owe them the best. Right. So it is like a double-edged sword there. But no, I'm with you 100% about sometimes the reviews, and as actors we could quote every bad review we've ever gotten, but don't remember good ones.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's like, okay, but you do what you do. You carry on, you put, as you said, put on your big girl panties and get back to work.
Yeah.
And it's only one opinion. You got to remember that it's only one opinion. And a lot of people that come to a show don't even read it. Really, we read it because we're theater people. We don't read a review that comes out for everything.
Yeah.
And I think reviews are more important to us emotionally than they are to anybody else because we're in the biz.
Okay. Definitely.
100%.
I mean, that one sentence review, we're like, oh my God, I'm destroyed.
Yeah.
People won't even remember, what are you talking about? No, it was a good review. Because most people see the headlines, they skim it. Oh, it was a good review.
And like poor Nikki as my husband at the time, I dramatically throw myself on the bed. I'm like, and he has to help put the pieces back together. Oh gosh.
Right, we should probably get in the car.
We gotta get in the car. I can never go on stage like that. Whatever. That's why we're married, because he's real even keeled and I'm
crazy.
Is she the crazy one?
A little bit.
Yeah, Nikki, Nikki's a lot of things, but you can never say he's crazy. He's really even-tempered, funny, even though we feel like we're going a little bit, we've got a little bit of that cabin fever, being isolated together like this, he still makes me laugh every day. And that's probably better than what I do on most days.
Oh, well, thanks for chatting, guys. We'll talk.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Tomorrow. Well, okay. Take care. I love you guys. I miss you guys. I want to eat food with you guys.
Yeah.
I could come down and have my Cuban roast pork, or I can
go there. That would be so good.
And I made picadillo because I make Cuban food, and Nick loves my Cuban food. My picadillo, I made that. I thought of you guys the other day. I was like, I got to make that and bring it up.
Remember that time you made the sweet potato souffles?
Oh my God, that was so good. Yeah, baked chicken, a sweet potato souffle, and we had something else I forget what I did. It was baked Brussels sprouts or something like that.
Yeah.
Carrots.
Oh,
yeah.
it was amazing.
Yeah. We're foodies. We like our food.
Yeah, I love food.
Yeah. So I wish I could have you over for Cuban roast pork, but we will when we can see each other again. We'll have a okay. We'll have it. You guaranteed. Either I'll come up there and cook, we can cook it together, or I'll bring it up. But guaranteed Cuban feast next time. Okay.
Can't wait.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
All right. Bye.